Okay, let's set the scene. Giza, 1988. Think early morning, Bar Al Azam Street. It's, a major street. Things are just starting to get noisy. Vendors setting up, that early traffic rumble.
Well, the city waking up, but then that ordinary morning is just shattered. There's a scream. It comes from the garbage collection area.
Yeah, sanitation worker. He's doing his usual rounds, going through the big municipal bins. He picks up this box, maybe like an old cardboard packing box, just tucked in there with the rest of the trash.
And when he opens it, well, it's immediately clear this isn't just garbage.
No. He's staring right at a severed human head,
Mhm.
and it's been, carefully wrapped in a sheet.
The forensic teams get there fast, and the initial picture is chilling. The head was severed cleanly, almost surgically. The victim, a man probably in his early 30s, and he'd been dead for about 3 days.
A terrible discovery. Eventually, they connect the head to a missing persons report. The victim is identified as Mustafa. He's 34, used to drive a taxi.
Yeah, he'd actually been working abroad in the Gulf and had only recently come back home to Al Haram to live with his wife and kids. And here's the thing, initially. No obvious enemies, no big debts, nothing that screamed motive for this level of, well, brutality.
Which leaves the police with this awful question. Mustafa's head is here, but where's the rest of him?
Exactly. And that question really kicks off what we're diving into today. This is a crime that absolutely baffled investigators, but it ultimately turned on this really disturbing combination in the perpetrator: sharp intelligence on one hand and just utter depravity on the other.
Those two things together.
Yeah.
Intelligence and depravity. That's what made her so incredibly dangerous.
And finding the rest of Mustafa's body parts became the immediate, desperate focus, but it led absolutely nowhere at first.
Right, into this huge void. A
Yeah.
15-month stalemate. Can you imagine?
15 months, and it wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, they searched everywhere, not just the street where the head was found. Every trash bin, every dumpster, potential dumping grounds across Greater Giza. They were looking for clothes, tools, anything.
Yeah.
Nothing. Complete silence. The physical trail just went ice cold. The case was getting dangerously close to being shelved, filed away as unsolved, victim of an unknown attacker.
But then they changed tack, didn't they?
They did. With no physical leads, they made a crucial strategic shift. They decided to pivot to behavioral analysis. The directive became, follow the woman.
And the woman was Sayeda, Mustafa's wife. They'd been married over 10 years. She was the one who actually filed the missing person report in the first place.
Which is interesting, right? But what's more fascinating is that the initial suspicion towards her was really faint. Some officers noted her grief seemed, well, a bit exaggerated. Performative, maybe.
But they didn't push it.
Not really. At first, they sort of chalked it up to stress, maybe her trying to keep it together for her 4 young kids, trying to seem strong.
But as they started digging into the background, talking to neighbors, a very different picture of the marriage emerged.
Oh, completely different. Neighbors described it as a total war zone. Constant, loud fights, screaming matches. It was apparently a regular occurrence.
What was the root of it all?
It seems to boil down to 2 main things: money problems and deep suspicion. Mustafa believed Sayeda had been unfaithful while he was away working in the Gulf.
Okay, that's a classic source of conflict.
Right. And it got so bad that he actually quit his job driving the taxi, just stopped working entirely so he could stay home 24/7, basically watching her every move.
Wow, that must have just cranked the tension up to 11. And killed their income too, presumably.
Exactly. It destroyed whatever was left of their personal relationship and plunged them into financial hardship. So for Sayeda, you have this constant surveillance, this suffocating presence, plus they're suddenly broke. Life became, well, intolerable for her.
Intolerable enough to plan a murder. And she was smart about it, calculating. That's why she got away with it for so long, those 15 months.
Her intelligence and careful planning were definitely key. She navigated all the initial questions, maintained this facade of the grieving wife. But like you said, 15 months is a long time.
Complacency sets in.
It seems so. She probably started to believe she was actually in the clear, that the police had moved on. And that's when she made her critical mistake.
What was it?
Detectives, who were still keeping tabs on the cold case, noticed a pattern. Sayeda was making frequent trips to a specific room in Saft el-Laban. It's a nearby area. And she was often staying overnight.
Okay, that's suspicious for a supposedly grieving widow.
Very. So they dug into it and discovered something stunning. 3 months earlier, Sayeda had married another man, a coffee shop worker named Ahmed.
Married him,
Hmm.
while Mustafa was still officially just missing. How?
This is where the intelligence part comes back in, but in a really cold, calculating way. She presented herself to Ahmed as single, and she backed it up with a forged divorce certificate from Mustafa.
She forged a divorce certificate. Wow, that's brazen.
It's incredible, isn't it? The nerve. But that forgery, that piece of paper, that was the concrete evidence they needed. It showed premeditation, calculation, and a willingness to create this whole false reality.
So they had her. Bigamy, forgery.
Yeah.
They finally had leverage.
Exactly. They confronted her with it, the evidence of the secret marriage, the fake divorce papers. And faced with that, her composure, that carefully constructed facade she'd held up for 15 months, it just crumbled.
And she confessed.
She collapsed and confessed everything. And the details she revealed were even more horrifying, more premeditated than anyone had expected.
So what was the actual plan? How did she do it?
It was chillingly straightforward. First step, get rid of any witnesses. She sent her 4 children, they were young, aged between 3 and 10, over to their grandmother's house.
Okay, kids are out of the house. Then what?
Then she made Mustafa a cup of tea, but she'd added a significant dose of pesticide to it. She served it to him very casually, saying she was just popping out for a bit to go pick up the children.
And she left him there.
She left, came back about an hour later, and found him dead on the floor.
The lack of panic is what gets me. She finds her husband dead, poisoned by her, and she just moves to the next step.
Precisely. There was no panic described. It was like she was just executing a pre-planned checklist. She'd already prepared for this next stage.
Prepared how?
She had a large plastic basin ready and multiple knives. She later described her mindset as being like preparing for a ritual sacrifice. That's the level of detachment we're talking
It would
about.
be disturbing.
It is. She then proceeded with the dismemberment. First, she separated his head from his body, wrapped the head in that sheet, the same one found later, and just set it aside.
Set it aside.
Yeah. Then she cut the rest of the body into 8 distinct pieces and put all those pieces into the plastic basin.
My God. The efficiency is horrifying. She wasn't seeing a person, her husband, anymore. Just a problem to dispose of.
Exactly. A logistical challenge.
Mhm.
And the next part of that challenge was getting rid of the basin and the head. She needed transport.
So she took the car.
Yes. She put the basin with the body parts and the wrapped head in the car, drove out to a highway late at night, and then she just waited, looking for someone, anyone, to stop and help her.
She was going to flag someone down with her husband's body in the car.
That was the plan. And someone did stop. A young man, a 21-year-old truck driver named Khaled. He had a nickname, Khaled al-Abyad, Khaled the White.
And how did she convince him?
She played a part, asked for a ride, said she needed to get to her mother's village in Baffled, but she was also, intentionally charming, flirtatious, engaging him in conversation, building a quick sense of trust.
Okay, so she's got him driving, thinking he's just giving a woman a lift.
Right. They're driving along, and then, somewhere midway through the journey, she just drops the bomb, tells him flat out, "My husband's dismembered body is in that plastic basin in the back."
What? How did he react? I mean, surely he'd panic, call the police, something.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But his reaction is almost as bizarre as the crime itself. He wasn't shocked, or if he was, he hid it incredibly well. Instead, he sympathized with her.
Sympathized? With a woman who just confessed to murder and dismemberment.
Bizarrely, yes. He agreed to help her get rid of the body parts. But his help came with a price. He demanded a sexual relationship with her in exchange for his assistance and silence.
This just gets darker and darker. So he agreed to help dispose the evidence.
He did. Over the next maybe 12 kilometers or so of highway, Khaled would pull the truck over repeatedly. And each time, Sayeda would get out, take one of the 8 body pieces from the basin, and just throw it out into the darkness by the side of the road.
One piece at a time. Over 12 kilometers. The sheer audacity and the coldness required to do that. It's hard to comprehend.
It really is. But even after they'd scattered the 8 pieces, there was still one part left.
The head. She still had the head, right?
Yes. For some reason, she held onto the head. She didn't dispose of it with the rest. She took it with her to her mother's house in Baffled.
To her mother's house. What did she do with it there?
She hid it. Apparently, just for a short time, under a bed.
Hid her husband's severed head under a bed at her mother's place.
Okay.
But she didn't leave it there.
No. Sometime before dawn broke, she made a final decision about it. She retrieved the head, wrapped it back in the sheet, put it inside that cardboard box.
The same box the sanitation worker found.
The very same one. She drove back into Giza, back towards where she lived, and dumped the box containing the head in that municipal garbage dump on Bar Al-Azam Street. Bringing the whole thing full circle, in a way, that head was the first piece found and the last piece disposed of.
And what did she do immediately after getting rid of the head?
This is perhaps the most audacious part of the cover-up. Immediately after dumping the head and presumably cleaning up the crime scene at her home, she went straight to Mustafa's family.
To his family to do what?
To act worried. She told them Mustafa had been gone for a day, that she was terribly concerned about him, played the part of the distraught wife perfectly.
And they believed her.
It seems so. Together, she and Mustafa's family then went to the police station to file the official missing person report.
The same report that eventually helped identify the head she had just thrown in the trash, the calculation is just staggering.
It really is. And think about the juggling act during those 15 months before she was caught. She was maintaining contact with Mustafa's family, playing the grieving wife. She was living a secret life with Ahmed, her new husband, built on forged documents.
And she was also managing Khalid, the truck driver.
Right, keeping him silent, likely through continuing that illicit relationship he'd demanded. 3 completely separate, high-stakes lives, all managed simultaneously.
Until the forged certificate brought it all crashing down. And the verdict.
Guilty. Given the extreme nature of the crime, the calculation, the brutality, the dismemberment, she received the maximum penalty. She was sentenced to execution.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's think about what this case tells us, what you listening can take away from it. It's not just about the gruesome details, is it?
No, not at all. I think the core lesson here is about that terrifying combination we mentioned at the start. The sheer effectiveness of a killer who possesses both high intelligence and a complete lack of any moral compass, total depravity.
She had the brains to plan the poisoning, forge legal documents, maintain multiple facades, and evade suspicion for over a year. That's intelligence, however twisted.
Exactly. But that intelligence was fused with this absolute moral vacancy, this depravity that allowed her to see her husband not as a person, but as an obstacle, something to be eliminated, processed, and discarded, like garbage.
And it's important to remember, this was 1988. This is before widespread CCTV, before digital footprints, before the kind of forensic tech we rely on today.
Right. Yet the fundamental psychology, the methods, the sheer brutality, it feels chillingly familiar, doesn't it? You see echoes of this kind of calculated cruelty in cases happening right now.
It destroyed Mustafa's life, obviously, but it also left 4 children without parents. The ripple effects are devastating.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you to consider. We live in an age obsessed with technology, with digital evidence, with tracking external actions. When we analyze crime now, we often look for the technological slip-up, the social media clue.
But does that sometimes make us overlook the internal factor? This case, from decades ago, highlights that the most dangerous element isn't the tool used, but the mind wielding it, that internal calculation of sheer human cruelty. Is that something our modern focus sometimes misses? The fact that some individuals are just capable of this level of planned evil, regardless of the era or the technology available?
That cold, ruthless intelligence combined with that emptiness, maybe that's the variable that truly never changes, and maybe that's the real horror story here.